Okay, in today's video, we're going to be discussing our expectations for Yieldmax and its most popular funds, ULTY, YMAX, and MSTY. We're earning over $900,000 per year in dividends thanks to these funds, and they're helping us retire early. But I think we need to manage our expectations once again for ULTY, YMAX, and MSTY, and discuss how to have a more balanced approach going forward to not only get these dividends of over 900,000 per year, but also these days gains. I mean, we're up, 1.91% on Friday, which beat all the indexes. That's, at one point we're up around $50,000, and our performance shows that we're up 23% again for the year. We were up 25%, but now we're up 23%. The S&P is up 8, the Nasdaq's up 9. So again, we're living financially free out of our brokerage accounts using Yieldmax and margin. And the goal here at this channel is to make money, not just get dividends like you see of over 900,000, but to make the most money possible. And again, we're going to discuss that today in this video. Again, we're going to mention ULTY because that's been one of the most popular funds that everyone's talking about. And are they using ULTY properly? Okay, we're outperforming the markets, and it's really hard to do this using a conservative approach. I mean, usually with the conservative approach, you would be doing something in line with the markets, but we're using margin and still outperforming the markets, even on down days, even on that Monday that we had, that really rough Monday, which is the reason for this video. We're still outperforming thanks to these strategies, okay? And you can do these too. Email me for my e-guides at akintodd48@gmail.com or head to my website, unconventionalwealthideas.com. We're leading the FIRE movement here at our channel. As I always say, check out my testimonials, check out more on my e-guides for how I'm doing this, okay? These strategies that we have, again, they're quite conservative in my opinion, but a lot of people are using ULTY and YMAX, in my mind, a little more cavalier than I would, for my taste, for example. And I think you can get this outperformance even without taking all of that risk, okay? I mean, the first thing that we did to get these days gains, okay? These days gains were not just from ULTY on Friday. Yes, ULTY was up 2.5%, all right? And 2.5%, that beats the indexes. As you can see above, the Nasdaq was up 1.88 and ULTY was up 2.5. So when you talk about daily gains expectations for Yieldmax, then you say, with something like ULTY, then you say, okay, it's capable of having big moves and beating the market on a typical up day. You can see we're up 2.5%. The Nasdaq is up 1.88. Using our margin, we are up 2.5%, the exact same amount as ULTY. And we don't have all of our money in ULTY. That's just a coincidence, that I was able to pull that graphic up for y'all. We were up 2.5%. ULTY was up 2.5%. But the difference with my account is that I wasn't down 2.5% on Monday when ULTY was down 2.5 to 3% on Monday. So again, this was a real wake-up call, okay? Monday we saw that we could lose big in the market. I was down I was down around 45,000 on Monday, and the Dow Jones was green. Okay, so chat, please let me know what y'all have been saying about this, because I know that in the Discord chat room, there's a lot of members in there pushing ULTY and YMAX. I mean, our Discord chat room is one of the best in the world, in my opinion, because we have over 2,500 members here pursuing the FIRE lifestyle. And usually this is for Cornerstone, okay? This is why we started the Discord chat room. It was not just for Yieldmax funds like ULTY and all them. It was mainly for the Cornerstone rights offering announcement, which is the whole cornerstone of how I outperform. That's how we weren't down as much on Monday, for example. And a lot of members here are choosing to, just go all into, first of all, they have a channel here for loans. We have a FIRE channel for loans, as you can see, and it's really taking off, okay? This one channel we have here, it's somewhere in here, okay? You can look for it in the column, okay? We just started this military members. That's an interesting channel, of course. And we have a Canadian channel and an Australian channel. Here it is, Loans for FIRE, right here. It's under my video there. You can't really see it. But Loans for FIRE, check out this channel if you haven't been in our Discord for a while and you're a member. When you buy my e-guides, you get free Discord for life, okay? So you always have this link. I don't charge for my Discord like other channels. Anyway, we have the best resources in here to get ahead, okay? Because all the greats use that to get ahead. And again, a lot of my members are kind of going a little cavalier with ULTY and YMAX, in my opinion. I mean, they're saying to put so much into ULTY and YMAX, some members. And, they use loans, all kinds of loans to get more income with ULTY and YMAX and MSTY. And then they say to, invest most of your money into that. I mean, I don't know, which faction of my members, decided to go that route, but as we saw on Monday, once again, you can get hurt big time with these drawdowns in ULTY, YMAX, and MSTY. And that was just one down day. So I made a video earlier this week about how we're going to hedge our ULTY position because Bitcoin was on the fence. And so we finally had our bounce with Bitcoin. MSTY had a nice bounce up 5%. We were on the fence as we laid out in prior videos. And, we bounced up with the market. We were up, we beat the market. We were up 2.5% in line with ULTY, but without using ULTY. That all came instead from the other strategy that I use, okay, which is not even what some of those more aggressive members in my Discord talk about. Yeah, I love their ideas for loans, okay? I love how they use loans to get ahead and all the creative ways they use those loans. I love that. But again, putting them all into something like a MicroStrategy or an ULTY, it's quite risky in my opinion. MicroStrategy is one stock. And yeah, we've had this bounce off the 200-day moving average. And I told everyone this could go either way. It could go, if it breaks the 200, look out below. If it goes higher, then we're going to see, obviously, the uptrend resume for MicroStrategy. So in order to play MicroStrategy and ULTY around that time period, because MSTY is a big part of ULTY, right? MicroStrategy is a large holding of ULTY. As you can see here, we're on the ULTY site. ULTY right here, 88%. Dividend up 13%. So what can you say that's negative about ULTY? 13%. And you look at the holdings, and some of the holdings in it are Bitcoin related, like MicroStrategy. And so if MicroStrategy and Bitcoin have a big down day, well, then this is going to be down big, ULTY, and it won't necessarily come back up the same way that it fell, right? Because these have decay. Look, I mean, we had a big bounce today, 2.5%, but we're still well off these previous highs when it was just going sideways right here, ULTY. So you can really cannibalize your account going down and then back up. You don't make the gains. I made the gains going back up thanks to my strategies, the triple C's, of course. And a lot of people, I don't know, they just kind of, a lot of my members like the triple C's, volume 7, right? That's my latest e-guide, and that's how we made these kinds of gains without trying, okay? And I know my members will attest to that. Let me know in the chat, members, if you went more with the triple C approach rather than with the, all-in ULTY, MSTY, YMAX approach. I know some members who do that, and they swear by the strategy, but that's what this live is for, and we have this chat to engage in. But I have been using the triple C's, which is, again, how I make these gains without having the risk on a down day. See, on a down day, I wasn't down much in some of these triples. In fact, we were up big in some of those triples, right? I used triples and doubles, and we were up, significantly in some of those triples. All of my members know this in my community. But when we're down with these triples, there's a way to manage risk. Okay, I have the systems, my allocations that I use for triples and the shorts and the position sizes. And, ultimately, when you have $10,000 in something, you can only lose $10,000, but you can make $1 million over time. Just go look at a Morningstar chart of some of these, triple leverage funds that, I use a myriad of triple leverage funds. They're all found in volume 7. Volume 7 is also like a summary of how I use Yieldmax, Defiance, and all the other funds with the triples, with my options. It's like a complete approach, really. Cornerstone, 4-star fund right here, and you look at how it moves up with the indexes. And in contrast, go look at Fangu. Okay, you can't see Fangu, a chart here of Fangu, because it's a brand new fund. But if you were to go look at, let's say, TQQ, one of the triples that I use, and the triples, again, you can do so many things with them to manage your risk, on the downside. Look at this. It made you $224,000 with just $10,000 invested, and with something like YMAX and ULTY, you have to put a lot of your money in there to matter, because they're not going to give you those kinds of days gains, those capital gains compounded over time. They're going to give you dividends, and so you're going to get in sort of a trap with ULTY and YMAX and MSTY if you put all of your money in these 3 funds, like some members do out there with Yieldmax, with other YouTube communities, with other Discord communities. And again, some members in my Discord are, pushing the YMAX ULTY narrative, so hard, and then anchor your portfolio with things that, are honestly a waste of your time, in my opinion, like an SGov, anchoring your portfolio with SGov to me is a waste of time because, you have to anchor with Cornerstone instead. Why? Because Cornerstone has the lowest maintenance. Okay, Cornerstone here, 30% maintenance. And the other funds have low maintenance too. SPY, QQI, they're finally getting lower maintenance. But Cornerstone has the highest yield, 20%, 21% in its NAV, and it has the special drip. So I don't understand how anyone would not use Cornerstone as their anchor over an SPYI or, QQQI. That's for one. Cornerstone has the lowest maintenance, the highest yield. It's indexed. It moves up with the indexes, as you can see here on this chart. And it gives you that special drip at NAV. Let's do a refresh on its NAV, on its premiums. It gives you 19.2 now percent every month on top of the 20% dividend. So how could you not make this your anchor? I'm not sure. Now, I know that it has rights offerings, but I use the rights offerings to my advantage. So if you don't want all that volatility, I could understand you not wanting to use Cornerstone because Cornerstone has low volatility, right? Relatively low volatility until the rights offerings periods. But again, I embrace these periods. That's what our Discord was originally started for, was to, because we sold here at these highs and then we bought here at the lows for Cornerstone because this is where the N2 filing was, which is what we announced on Discord, okay? Our admin set up our RSS feed here, so we have the Cornerstone rights offering announcement and the N2 filing, and that's why it's such a big advantage to have this Discord. If you didn't read anything else in Discord and follow any of these other chats, then you would just have this for the announcement only, okay? The Cornerstone rights offering announcement. And this is what has helped me level up my account so much, okay? I got 100% gain in Cornerstone in 2021 just from share price movement from 7 to 14. But then it had the rights offering, and if you sold at the highs like I did and then reloaded at the lows, then we got another 50% move up, the subsequent year from that spot, from the RO pricing with Cornerstone. So that's how I really leveled up my account. Okay, this is the way to truly make money. Okay, we have to make money. All right, so you have to compound your gains, but you have to make money. Okay, make the most gains possible without the risk to the downside. Okay, we made 44,000 on Friday. At one point, again, 50,000, but who's counting? It's more about the percentages. 1.91 versus the Nasdaq's 1.88, and again with margin, you see that we're up 2.5%. So we're making the day's gains plus the dividends of over 900,000 without the downside risk like we saw on a Monday. Okay. So I fell a lot on Monday as well with YMAX and ULTY, but now I've shored up my positions. Okay, one thing I did was I added the salty short, and I wanted to announce here on this video. I hope y'all are paying close attention that I made that short with ULTY 4-1 with ULTY to salty. Salty is the inverse of ULTY. I made that 4-1 because we were on the fence with Bitcoin. Okay, so we already showed the chart of Bitcoin. And you saw that it had a bounce off the 200-day moving average. Now, because that was a big part of ULTY, and we saw the bounce in ULTY as well, now I can remove some of that salty short and go a little bit less, maybe 5-1, like 20%, maybe even 10 to 15%, but we're still not out of the woods yet. I mean, we are, in my opinion, from a technical standpoint, again, when you go look at MicroStrategy and you look at the bounce we had off the 200 with the Fed rate cut coming, right? The Fed signaled that they would probably do that cut in September. Now you have the catalyst for small caps, fintechs, really everything in the market to move higher, okay, most things. And so that that makes the odds for the trend up, the uptrend in MicroStrategy to be resumed. Okay, risk on is back on. The sentiment should be back on with the rate cut and the bounce off the 200-day moving average. So I'm going to lighten up once again on my salty shorts, and that the salty hedge, and so that's going to help give us more performance going forward. But I just want to stress to y'all that I did 4-1 because we were on the fence. Okay, now that we're getting off the fence, I'm going to lighten up that short, and I'll update you in the future on what I decide that final short to be. But ULTY is going to probably takes up 50% maintenance, and ULTY does, and salty does as well. So I don't want it to suck up too much of my maintenance. Again, that's why I anchor everything into Cornerstone, because not only does it fall as hard on a Monday like you saw on a Bitcoin downdraft, but it has the lower maintenance, which preserves most of my equity. If you need help understanding maintenance, that's in my volume 3 e-guide. So if you're just now joining this channel and you're new to this, okay, I've been watching a lot of lives today, different people's lives, they're different channels. And, you know, so if you're just coming across my live, because that's what happens when you watch lives, it recommends others, welcome. All right. And you'll see that at this channel, we're doing our lives a little differently. Okay. We're trying to have financial freedom here and, you know, let the masses achieve, you know, freedom from a 9-to-5. Okay. This is, I think, a very special channel. You know, we're earning over 900,000 thanks to margin, because for every $1 you put in your account, you get $4 of purchasing power. Okay. I'm just using a small amount of this over, it would be around 6 million. Okay. It would be around 8 million, 2 times 4. So 8 million in purchasing power. So we're at 1.9 in purchasing power because I've already used so much margin. My dividends of over 900,000 per year, which we could get up to 1 million, but we're trying to do it safely here. That's going to pay back the debt in less than 1 year. Okay. And then my debt doesn't show up on a credit check to banks. So that's why it's so great. It's also low interest debt. Okay. I've negotiated my rates down twice. Many of my members have negotiated their rates down as well, because you have my number when you buy my e-guides. I send you the script whenever you need it. I'm getting to all members first, and then I'll get to everyone else who bought my e-guides after the premium members on YouTube. Okay, also one more announcement. Again, this is, you know, towards the end of the month, so I'm just gonna make the announcement at the end of the month. I'm raising my prices just because I don't have any more time to myself, and with my family, that's the thing that's most important, is spending time with my family. And all these questions, all these phone calls, you know, I can't take them anymore. Okay. So again, back to what I was saying, you know, the margin. Okay. We have a lot of maintenance left with Cornerstone. Okay. It's preserving my equity, and that's how I'm staying free from 9-to-5. I can swipe my E-Trade card and do whatever I want with it because I can live out of my debt. Okay. A lot of greats use debt to get ahead and margin to get ahead. Margin has lower rates than credit cards, et cetera, et cetera. So I live out of my account, but I live out of it with Cornerstone because, again, it's the index and it doesn't fall as hard as other things, and it has the low maintenance to preserve my equity. And then ULTY does not have the same maintenance. You can go to other brokers with lower maintenance, but they might not have the special drip for Cornerstone, or they might, you know, it might make you want to use more margin because of that. And that's the wrong thing to do when you're using ULTY and YMAX, in my opinion, because, again, you saw what can happen on a Monday. All right. And with Cornerstone, you know, it wasn't down as much as the market because it's steady until the rights offerings, you know, begin. Okay. Once you get higher premium thresholds with Cornerstone, that's when they get more volatile. And I can understand you not wanting to make that an anchor, but until the premiums are higher, you know, the market's only up 8% for the year and Cornerstone's premiums are only 20%. Why not have this as your anchor if you're getting that special drip at NAV every month? I know most of my members can, you know, can attest to that they love the special drip every month. Again, just make sure you're playing Cornerstone properly around the rights offerings and premium thresholds, and that's in my volume 4 e-guide if you need help playing Cornerstone. So we saw what can happen with YMAX, okay? And we need to temper our expectations some for a down market, okay? For an up market, we know that YMAX and ULTY are gonna do well. YMAX was up 2.3% on Friday. ULTY was up 2.5%, as we saw. MSTY was up significantly. Well, MicroStrategy was up 6%. What was MSTY up? MSTY was up 5.15. So, you know, you have to be happy with that performance, okay? MicroStrategy, they're giving you most of the upside on a daily basis with MSTY, but they're giving you this large dividend as well, okay? It says 159% at E-Trade. On the Yieldmax website, you see 85% for MSTY. Okay, so if we refresh this, it should be sure you'll see that it is 87% currently for MSTY. So you're getting that dividend plus most of the day's gains. And look at the inception of MSTY since, you know, performance since inception, 332% with MSTY. So hard to argue with MSTY. YMAX, you have a 44% yield, all right, which is very high, okay, twice that of Cornerstone. And it's up 42%, okay, since inception. How can you argue with that? However, members just need to be aware, especially if you're using margin. See, I use small amounts of margin, so it's not enough to really hurt me. And then we had the salty hedge of 4-to-1 when we were on the fence with MSTY. But now that we've bounced with MSTY, you know, I can lighten up on that hedge. But I'm still not going to go so far as to say I'm going all in with ULTY and YMAX and MSTY because we're, you know, the danger has been avoided and now we're off the fence and it seems like we're off to the races again. Because again, I don't want another down day like that to happen to me, okay? The reason why I've made it this far, I've been here for 20 years, investing on my own for 20 years, financially free for about 10 of those years. And that's when I was using margins. When I, became financially free, I just used my margin, lived out of my equity. Well, I was able to survive all those years because I stayed indexed. Okay. The 1 year that I wasn't indexed, y'all know, during Corona, that's when, I lost so much of my money. I was tied to real estate and energy. Then when I switched to the indexes, that changed my life. Okay. I was always getting these kinds of performance gains. I was used to getting these, massive days gains with dividends, but not to last for the long term. Okay. Because again, a lot of real estate funds blew up when, during Corona. So you had to stay indexed. Those are the only things that are guaranteed to come back. Once you tie your strategy to the indexes, it's really hard to lose. And YMAX and ULTY are not the indexes. So they can fall big. Look at how they fell big, but then they don't come back up as fast. And then you can factor back in dividends, of course. You factor back in your dividends, and then, you have a lot of these losses rectified. But you still can cannibalize your account in a down market. Why don't you understand this? If there's a down market, then you're going to lose your dividends with YMAX and ULTY and MSTY. They're going to lower their dividends. They're going to drop by the amount of the stock, but they're not going to rise by the amount of the stock. That's kind of the deal with Yieldmax. So that is scary for me. All right. And so that's why I manage my position sizes with ULTY and YMAX. And that's why I stay so much into Cornerstone. And then with MSTY, I keep it at reasonable amounts. Professionals say to keep, 3 to 5% of your account, in Bitcoin. So I definitely do that. And then I use a little bit more of my leverage, my equity, to sell options, which have been up huge for me. Okay. I sell these options, which is much safer than, buying, let's say, more ULTY on the dip. Instead of, buying more ULTY, yeah, I rebalanced my ULTY. Of course, I stayed disciplined. But I was also selling options. My members know this. And my options lowered my margin because they're naked. They lowered my volatility because they're leaps. And they give me extra performance. That's how we're up 23% safely. Okay, I'm getting this performance safely, not worried about the market drops, because when I sell my options, we don't drop as hard. We're up 23% still because the options, again, that I use have lower volatility, much lower risk. They're the least risky way to even buy a stock, is you sell the option underneath them. And so this is how I minimized my volatility this week and stayed ahead of the benchmarks, stayed, with the outperformance, with over 500,000 of margin leverage, and even having a large amount in ULTY and YMAX. But again, managing those expectations, managing those position sizes accordingly. So, I use these options, okay? And if you need help using options like I do, I sell these options. That's in volume 6, okay? So, obviously we buy options, okay? We buy options. We protect our account at all times as well. All right, we talk all about that, buying put options, and they're up nicely for us this week. But I wasn't really focused on the options so much as I was the position sizes in ULTY and YMAX, because YMAX and ULTY were down huge when the market was not. All right, can y'all please, tell me if y'all agree with me in the chat, okay? Because it's kind of scaring me with my members that, not just my members, but a lot of people on YouTube. It scares me when I see them, going all in on some of these funds, which are great. They're doing great. They're doing great for me too. But think about the long term. Think about in a down market. What is that going to look like? Okay, we had a green market on Monday. We were down, 40 to 50,000. Imagine a real down market. We would be down with everything else on top of those. And you can't just stay on, and those would be down much more on a down day. First of all, YMAX and ULTY and MSTY. But then you would have the other funds in your portfolio down as well. It's like a double whammy. How do you survive that long term? All right, so, I'll go ahead and I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything. I talked about lowering my salty ratio. And also, again, we won with OARC because I told y'all on offense, the video last week we made, we're hedging with salty, but we went on offense with OARC because OARC has 30% maintenance. It has the same themes with Bitcoin and growth, but OARC was up 2.83, so it blew away the NASDAQ. And that's how we offset our salty hedges. And so I'll just simply sell some of my salty hedge, take it down from 4 to 1 to maybe 5 to 1 for now, and then slowly get it down to maybe a little bit less than 20 or 15% of the ULTY position. Because again, we did that because we were on the fence, and then I still hedged it on the way back up with OARC if y'all were patient enough to watch the whole video. And again, OARC gives you those days gains, same themes, but with the lower maintenance, okay, 30% maintenance. All right, so let me go ahead and get to my chat. Once again, if you need help living financially free out of your brokerage account using Yieldmax, Cornerstone, and Margin, email me for my e-guides at aikentod48@gmail.com. You can also head to my website, Unconventional Wealth Ideas, where we're leading the FIRE movement. Okay, FIRE was a term that I knew of when I got started with this whole thing, but I don't know who's taking it to the next level like we are, okay? Using margin, using loans, and you don't have to have a background check to get these margin loans. You're automatically granted them to you. You don't have to have a credit check for these. So I don't understand why more people aren't doing this. The masses aren't doing this. We talked about this once in a Bloomberg article that I was featured in, and she was trying to kind of make it seem like I'm leading, the masses off a cliff, talking about Yieldmax because she thinks that they just all erode, okay, the people who wrote this article. And then I did a follow-up podcast with Trillions, and they thought the same thing. Eric Balanchunas and them think that these funds are just going to erode. They have huge dividends, but they erode, and they're just kind of, they're what should I say they characterize these? Just highly risky, with a lot of crazy dividends that don't really seem realistic. But look at the returns, 42%. All right, and remember, when you buy my e-guides, you get my number for life, okay? So you can call me if you have questions, and you also get Discord for life, okay? So let's go ahead and get into the chat, and let's see what everyone's saying about not only this video, managing our expectations. So just to summarize that point, okay, we need to manage our expectations for down markets with MSTY, ULTY, and YMAX. And we need to understand that in up markets, you're going to get those days gains participation like we got on Friday. But what's it going to look like in a down market? And we know that long term, you're not going to get the days gains with Yieldmax, ULTY, and YMAX, ULTY, and MSTY. They're not going to compound up like Cornerstone can give you that. Also, the triple Cs, they're not going to compound up and give you that wealth like traditional funds can. Okay, they're just going to give you those dividends, and you can compound your dividends. But if you keep dripping at any price, you're going to get hurt on down markets like you saw on Monday. So you have to drip on dips. And again, if you do that, you could get caught in a trap because as you're dripping on dips and the market's falling and falling, you're losing your yield. Cornerstone keeps its dividend the same for the year, for example. And, and so the indexes, they fall less than, something like a MSTY traditionally, or even an ULTY in a down market. So you'll have to think down markets and up markets. Yes, in an up market, our expectations are quite high for YMAX, ULTY, and MSTY, of course. But in a sideways to down market, okay, think about the cannibalization of your account as it erodes, as they drop by the amount of the stock but don't rise by the amount of the stock. Think about the eroding dividends as the volatility falls, and then think about how hard it's going to be to get all that progress back in your account after the drop, okay? The only way you're going to be able to get it back is through the triple Cs, which again is in volume 7, and that's why I think members were so thankful for when I wrote that at the time, at the low of the market, which we outperformed the NASDAQ the entire time on the dip, okay, even with that margin. And so, the way that we outperformed was through the triple Cs. That is triple leverage and Cornerstone, the Cs. All right, so please don't ask what I mean about the triple Cs. It's about how you use Cornerstone around the premiums, how you use the leverage funds with your position sizes on the way down, and then also combine those with the shorts, the equivalent shorts, which we talk all about in that guide. All right, so hey Chris, happy Sunday everyone. Great to see all of y'all. I hope I'm not scaring anyone with these comments I'm making about YMAX and ULTY and MSTY. I love them, but I have to be careful. The only reason why I hedged with so much salty before is because we were on the fence. Hey Chris, hey Ricardo, happy Sunday to you too. Thanks for all my members. I love you all so much. Hey CBS, Frosty, my prize admin. Thank you Frosty for all your help this weekend, brother. Jetta, Gaines, Hashor, Ray, Paul, I have to thank y'all every time for making it such an enjoyable experience for our users at Discord. All right, it's a great community. Love the conversations. If you need my responses in there, make sure you at me, okay? Especially when it comes to these Yieldmax, ULTY, and MSTY discussions, okay? Putting so much into them, okay? Hey, Fenrir, thank you so much. Morning dose of freedom, that's right. Hey, Brandon. Absolutely, Fenrir. Hey, Tiger. Hey there. Hope you enjoy this video, Tiger. Sniper, Jason, great day to be alive with fire. Every day is a great day, isn't it, Jason? To be free and alive with this, and it gives you just a reason to live, honestly. It makes me so fired up. That's why I do these videos. Hey, Dean. Hey, Jason. Yeah, everyone, if you're liking this video, please click like or subscribe. Here, let me get Navy for you. All right. Here's Navy. Her name is short for Nav Drip, okay? Cornerstone Nav Drip. And she has blue eyes. So I just wanted to show you Navy, too. All right? She's a good girl. And she makes a lot of noise when she snores. Hey, Jason. Once again, thanks for that comment. Thank you so much, Dean, too, for telling everyone to like and subscribe. Jason, salty too. Yes, Jason. I'm going to lower my, my ratio for that as the, all clear signs have, shown up because we had that bounce off the 200-day moving average. Hey, Major Capital. Hope that makes sense, Jason. Happy Sunday, brother. Appreciate you and for all that you do for us. Up 21% year to date thanks to your system. All right, G. So glad to hear that, Capital G. Way to go. And thanks for all your support lately. All right, that is fantastic. Jason, 15%. Way to go, Jason. Yeah, my mom, she's up around 16. Maybe it's like 17 or 18. I need to do my mom's video on YieldMax and how she's using the FIRE system, with her allocations. And the only reason why I did it was because this week was a major, it was a crazy week with Bitcoin. I just wanted to make sure everyone was okay. Okay, we're using margin, but we want to make sure we're doing it all safely here, and we're using YieldMax to get extra income. We just want to make sure we're using that safely. All right, it's not really the margin that's a risk at my channel. It's honestly YieldMax and ULTY and the drawdowns. All I care about is correlation on up days, as y'all know, and down days, and then minimizing drawdowns. Okay, and you'll live to fight another day after that. Okay, so thank you, Justin, for that audio clarification. Okay, Major, sorry. Hey, Jared. Hey, Hannah. Eric. So good to see y'all. Oh, gosh, I got lost in the chat here. Okay. Where was I? Phil, and way to go on your results, Phil. I've been, watching, your Instagram. Thanks for sharing that with me, Phil. Brandon must also diversify into indexes and value plays with ULTY. Thank you, Brandon. I agree. So that's one, one vote for, staying anchored in the indexes. And why be anchored in something like SPY, QQI that has the lower yield, no special nav drip for Cornerstone, no rights offering opportunity to honestly manage your risk with and level up faster with Cornerstone. And then why anchor with SGov when that's just losing money to inflation? That's just going sideways. I get it. It's some kind of anchor. I understand that with bonds. But, you have to be aggressive. And they're already being aggressive with ULTY and YMAX. So why are you being less aggressive with SGov when you're okay with being aggressive? You're just losing money to SGov and then inflation-wise. And then with ULTY and YMAX, you're just losing money to cannibalization, having so much of it in there. Okay, again, up markets, you're going to do fine. Sideways markets, you're going to do okay. But down markets, what is that going to look like? You're going to survive as you keep getting your dividends. You're going to be okay over time. But again, you're going to see a gaping hole in your account for a long time. And I want to see my growth constantly, on the up and up in my account. I want to make money, as I said at the beginning of the video. Okay, not just dividends, but capital gains too. Which, as you can see, that's what we got here. Okay, I mean, 2.5%, 44,000. That was without trying. That was without trading. That was without hunting and finding, the next trade. It's by just staying indexed in all of the triples. Okay, the triples are the reason why we really got these gains. Okay, and we're up 23% for the year. Again, that's all in volume 7. Okay, just keep it on a dark screen so that I can see my chat here and it's okay on everyone's eyes. Once again, great job, Phil, and I agree, Brandon. Justin, the reason they talk about loans for FIRE is to use debt as a positive to grow income. Exactly. Yeah, all for using loans for FIRE, using debt, yeah, right? All for that to grow, just not for putting it in things that have huge drawdowns, and then cut their dividends, and then you're trying to rely on the dividends for income to pay off these loans, and then that's what a bear market would cause. And as long as you're understanding that, and you can pivot in a bear market, well, then I suppose that's okay. But then where are you going to sell from and go? You're going to see huge drawdowns. You're going to have to, make back those drawdowns somehow, because they fall big but don't rise big, these YieldMax plays. Not against YieldMax, just I think you have to use them properly. Hey, Hannah. So let me know what you think about that, Justin. Hey, PX. Thanks for the Sunday update, Todd. Let's hope for a great week. Yeah, let's do it, PX. Win or lose, it's always a great week, isn't it? Because if it's down market, it's opportunity. And if it's an up market, then we're ready because we're positioned with our allocations, as you know, PX. Thanks for being a member, PX. Urson, I would just say Tampa, got my first ULTY div. Okay, congratulations, Tampa. It's always a great feeling, isn't it? Hey, Medina, great to see you. Gamer, Todd, thank you for the great content. I always hedge my KOI with fiat and my NVYY with dips. Absolutely. Same here, Gamer. And, those really helped us out last week. Hey, Tom. Hey, Tampa, triple C approach. Exactly. The triples and the C's and the doubles. Don't forget, we have lots of doubles that were up huge for us. I mean, we took AMUU for 100% gain recently, and a lot of our other doubles have really been moving big. So that's how we're getting this performance, and it's without trying, okay, honestly. We just take what we're given every day, and we just max the indexes. Jason, you need to buy volume 7. Yes, the triple C's help a lot, absolutely. Jason Smith, there's a difference between greed and ambition. Exactly. With ULTY and YMAX and MSTY, a lot of that is more on the greedy side than ambitious side, in my opinion. The way that I use the triples, I sell options on them. I watch my position sizes. I have shorts, there's a way to do it safely, in my opinion. Hey, Red, Chief, it's my understanding that the SGov week is specifically for those with portfolio margin to please the algorithm in order to achieve the allocations into high yield products, which are risky, like you said. Yeah, and that could be a thing. You do that to lower your maintenance and squeeze out more ability to use for the high yield. But now you're just putting so much in the high yield, which is great in an up market, but what's that going to do to you in a down market, Chief? All right, and so however you want to manipulate the maintenance or not, which they talk all about in Discord right here, I understand that, and it's somewhat brilliant as well. It's still not going to save you in a down market, and then all that money that you allocated to SGov is there's an opportunity cost for losing that capital. And then portfolio margin is not, in my opinion, I can't even use portfolio margin because in a major down market, you can't withdraw out from portfolio margin or it raises your maintenance. So then you get caught in a pickle there, Chief. All right, but if you can use your job with portfolio margin, I understand that. And if you can use your job to service margin calls, I understand that. But no matter how much you're doing to service calls and mitigate risk, you're still getting gaping holes to the downside in your portfolio with an ULTY drawdown. I mean, am I missing something? Did y'all not see a huge drawdown on Monday? Okay. I mean, I was down again, like in line with the indexes on Monday, but still it was tough with the NASDAQ index. It was tough to see the Dow green, these down huge. And imagine a complete bear market, what that would do to these funds. Let me know what you think, Chief. Hey, John. Hey, Altafi. Red. Yes, Cornerstone is outperforming those funds. I mean, absolutely. Okay, it depends on which metrics you use, of course. And yeah, Cornerstone's always been the way, for me, because you get the rights offering. That's how you really move up in chunks and big chunks and level up in your account. It's through playing the premiums and the rights offerings in Cornerstone, which again is all in volume 4. Ro, appreciate you looking out for our best interest, Todd. You bet, Ro. I mean, I just want to see y'all make it with me to the end. Thanks for the comment, Ro. Altafi, ULTY is bad for me. Okay, please explain why. Case, those filings are public. Why would you need to have a special channel to get the announcements? Also, why not just exercise the rights offering rather than selling? Well, Chris, because a lot of people don't just get the news for the public announcement. Okay, Chris, it gets lost in the sea of other announcements, and people just have lives to live. And so if you're watching even the website, it's hard to get that public announcement. But anyway, that's one way to do it. That's what I did for so long. But instead of winging it and trying to just hope that I'll get the announcement, now I use Discord for the announcement. I'm always checking that myself, okay? So, and then some members, they want SMS text, so I give them that as well. because they don't want to watch it on the website. But fair question, Chris. I appreciate that. And then for exercising the rights offerings rather than selling, you're going to get hurt big time, Chris. If you don't sell, obviously, you're going to see a huge gap down in your account, just like you would with YMAX and ULTY if you don't manage those positions right at the top. So there's that's like apples and oranges, YMAX and ULTY, how they work compared to Cornerstone. Cornerstone works regardless of what the market's doing. It's all a function of premiums, and you can game that yourself and drip at the lows yourself. It's automatic. But with ULTY and YMAX, they're a lot trickier to use. And when the market just decides to sell off, or Bitcoin decides to sell off, what do? You can only hedge with Salty or manage your position sizes. All right, and that's why I put so much more in Cornerstone, because I can anchor with indexes, and they have lower maintenance than ULTY. Okay, unless you go the portfolio margin route, which gives you lower maintenance, but gives you huge drawdowns as well. Please, again, correct me if I'm wrong, everyone. Capital G, Volume 7 is awesome. I have ULTY as my second highest holding after Cornerstone. I have it so heavy because at my brokerage, ULTY is 30% and Cornerstone's 50%. I do feel the dips harder, though. Absolutely, Capital G. Thanks for that comment. Yeah, thank you for talking about Volume 7, because, again, some people, I don't know if they just, they understand, when I say triple C's, they just get mad that I say triple C's. There's a whole art to using it, and that's how you get these real days gains with the dividends without trying, okay? Without the massive drawdowns either, because we have ways to protect the triples rather than with ULTY and MSTY and YMAX. You don't really have ways to protect those because they have so many Bitcoin components into them. You can't even hedge with the put. The put wouldn't have saved you on Monday with the market put because, again, part of the market was green, the Dow, whereas those were down. So that's why Volume 7 is so critical, in my opinion. And the triple C's, it's a huge part of my approach. Okay, Eric, Capital G, I guess I have to buy those volumes. I'm downsizing and looking to buy 200K of additional ETFs. Okay, Justin, the filings may be public, but only if you're actively watching them. Exactly, Justin. He has the channel set up to alert everyone so they can jump on it as soon as possible. Thank you, Justin. Exactly right. Hey, Chris, so if you lighten up on Salty, are you selling Salty at a loss? I say a loss because the market went up Friday and Salty went down, Chris. Well, Chris, what it is to me, it's a hedging loss. I use my $300 of hedging insurance every month with my options, and then I have other hedges in my account, as you know. And then with Salty, I kept it at 4-1 because we're on the fence, and you can lighten up. You don't sell the whole thing, but you lighten up. You might lose a couple of $100 or $200 by lightening up on that hedge. But to me, that's a small price to pay considering the fact that we're in OART, Chris, and we made a lot of money on the upside to hedge Salty, like we talked about last video. And then we also made around $50,000 on Friday. So making $50,000 on Friday versus, and talking strictly about, ULTY, we're up 3%, and that was like what, I don't know, a few $1,000s we're up in ULTY. And then we only lost a couple of hundred in Salty. So that's the way that I play hedges, Chris. Good question. Chief, yes, that's part of rebalancing, and any losses just offset taxable gains for the year. Not a huge deal. Exactly, Chief. You also get those losses back, Chris. So I'm more than happy with small losses due to hedging. Look at how airlines hedge their, gasoline prices. Everyone hedges. You have to hedge, and you have to be comfortable with those losses in contrast to what you could gain on the upside. That's what you're doing it for. Hey, Fenrir. No, not SGov, at RC, LOL. Exactly. Yeah, RC has been very vocal. Love his passion, love his energy in Discord, but he's just been kind of ramming these ideas down people's throats, apparently. I get the loan channel, everyone being so excited about that. But, the approach with ULTY and YMAX, it's a bit cavalier because, the drawdowns are so huge. So, but let me know what y'all think, chat. Trevor, drip ULTY or use the payments to invest elsewhere. I don't drip ULTY. I only drip Cornerstone for the advantage, Trevor, and then I buy everything else on dips. Hey, Kelly, happy Sunday to you. Great to see you. Hey, Richard, you're happy if ULTY pays 10 cents. Yep, but not happy with the drawdowns, Richard, unless you're happy with always staying behind and not being able to use your excess equity to withdraw from. Your account's going to be down, down, down. You have no account. You have no equity to really withdraw from. You can survive, but you're not thriving with those kinds of drawdowns. Richard, Chris, you're up 20%. Way to go, Chris. That is excellent. That is, wonderful performance. That is like twice what the indexes are doing. So congratulations, Chris. Way to go. I'm so proud of all my members here with these badges by their name. Hey, John, Todd, when is ebook 8 coming out? No pressure. It's coming, John. It's just that, gosh, every week it's like there's something thrown at me, whether it's, raising my prices a couple weeks ago or taking the scripts away, giving them to members first and then everyone else. And then the Bitcoin fiasco we had last week. But I'm on it. Okay. I would say I'm halfway through, John. So thanks for the question, John. Hey, Richard, Bitcoin about to take off again. Hey, hope so, but we never know. Hope is not an investment strategy. We're ready either way. Advisability. Do you invest in Bitcoin directly or through E-Trade? No, I do not. Red, Todd, you're giving great info. Hopefully everyone is listening. Thank you, Red. I always appreciate the info you email me with too. Hey, Justin, Bitcoin Direct doesn't pay dividends. Exactly, Justin. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is great, but what about in a down market like 2022? How do you survive? You have to sell from Bitcoin to pay your bills. That's very costly and cumbersome, and you're losing all sorts of compounding ability that way. You have to have dividends, and these dividends qualify you for loans to live free, by the way, as well. Many kinds of loans. Hey, Patty, that's my mom. Hey, Mom, I love you. Hope you're feeling better. Hope to see you tomorrow. Red, if you're listening, Yieldmax suffers in a down market. Exactly, Red. Exactly. Now, I love both. Cornerstone, Yieldmax, I love it all. Defiance, Rec Shares, Cornerstone. But there's a way to use all of these, okay? And you have to do it properly. Investing is all about managing risk, not making money on the upside like we made on Friday. It's about also managing risk, okay, to the downside. Hey, Gino, awesome. Thanks for joining, Gino. Mike, 100% agree with you, Todd. Triples and C's are the way to play it. Selling puts, too. Exactly, Mike. Selling puts is like free money almost. Almost, I said. I mean, usually it is. I would say percentage-wise. It's kind of hard to lose in the indexes over time. Check it out. ULTY to 5 when. Please clarify. Richard, ULTY is not going to 5. Okay. CH, U has been a great stock. Okay. Hannah, thanks for the idea. Hannah, I like weekly dividends with YBTC, no NAV erosion in the last year. Yep. That could, also be a great idea, Hannah. Nice income from YBTC, definitely. Brandon, I use the Robinhood weekly pay funds by taking the harder down days and rebalance all the losing weekly pay positions and get more gains on the way up. Yeah, I agree, Brandon. Those weekly players, did move nice. You saw the recommendation we did with, AMDW, for example, last week. And, obviously, some other plays that are, part of our Superb 10, Tremendous 20 strategy. And, they were just, they moved nicely, no doubt about it. I don't like the maintenance on them at E-Trade, but they're definitely nice vehicles. Thanks for the comment, Brandon. Jason, they all think that because they aren't playing things right. Yeah, exactly, Jason. R, if you're on the fence about joining the FIRE movement, get on it. Thanks, Todd. You're welcome, R. Thank you so much for that comment, R. That means a lot. All right. Here if you need anything. CH, are those the options ETFs? Not sure. Please clarify. Purist, hey, Purist, good to see you. Brandon, hey, fellas. Good to see you, Brandon. Jet Driver, all covered ETFs are going to suffer significantly during a market downturn. Look at OARC, which is more indexed. It still isn't at pre-tariff prices. It was at 11 last January. Yeah, agreed, Jet. These are really going to fall. You want these in an up market, and then in a down market, you want to make sure that you're in other things to stabilize your account and lower volatility. Of course, you buy these, on dips to have the best performance, in my opinion, just like you would anything else. But you have to be aware of that, They're great for the uptrends, but look at how much they fall in a down market. Exactly right, Jet. John, Todd, should we be increasing our shorts now when they are cheaper? Is the potential interest drop already factored into the market? Great question, John. That's why I didn't want to just alert members on Friday to remove the short. Usually there's a Fed whipsaw effect, and so there could be some sort of hangover on Monday. And also you want to see if we're truly out of the woods yet with that bounce of Bitcoin, on the 200-day moving average, MicroStrategy. It looks like we are out of the woods, again, from a technical standpoint, but you never know from a fundamental news-driven standpoint. So over the weekend, things can happen. So I waited until Monday, until today's video, for one, to hint to my members, and then Monday you'll see how I wind down some of those shorts. And then, of course, we can always put the shorts back on. You know, you're losing small money with these hedges, you know, compared to the gains that we're getting on the upside. I mean, come on. Check it out. Todd, correct. Have to be careful. Agreed. Check it out. Thank you so much. CH, dividend approach is all right if you got in on a low stock price valuation like Verizon at 37. Exactly. Buy low, sell high, CH. Hey, Major, Rush, beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord, and ULTY and YMAX. Absolutely, Rush. Good to see you, Rush. Once again, just, you know, I appreciate that comment right there, and can't wait to talk more to you, Rush. Decadus, thank you so much, Decadus. I appreciate you being here. Major, can I summarize the audio? It's going to be hard, Major. Which part do you want me to summarize? Let me know. Robert, has to be said, Todd, downsides of Yieldmax funds. They need the truth to plan for downside of the markets. Exactly, Robert. I've seen so many friends make it with me over the years, like in up markets, but then in down markets, they just fall by the wayside and they all, you know, go back to work or something like that. And for me, this is the only way to stay free, is staying with the indexes, staying conservative. But there are ways to push it with margin, with sold options, with the triple C's, with proper position size management, in ways that, you know, can't hurt you on the way down, but they can really make you a ton on the way up. Go see the beginning of the video today if you don't believe me. For example, like with TQQQ. Go look at what 10,000 did for you in that. You can only lose 10, but you can potentially make hundreds of thousands. Okay, Mitchell, did he get margin called? Absolutely not, Mitchell. Not even close. Just look at my performance. We're up 23% year to date. Puff, appreciate the real talk on the Yieldmax funds. Exactly, Puff. Richard, you're all in on ULTY. Okay, Richard. Well, you know, I admire your bravery, and, you know, I think that's not going to be a bad decision, you know, if the markets are sideways or up. But in a down market, just be careful, okay? You know the dividends are going to fall. You know the downside is going to be large. And can you make that back up? You know, in a prolonged down period, what if it's a bear market for a year or two? You know, a David Tepper type market where he thinks that we're going to get nothing returns for 5 years kind of thing. So I never was in that camp, but you never know. What if all of a sudden tariffs, you know, bring some inflation, unwanted inflation, which the Fed thinks is a one-off and they think is transitory, if I may use that word that everyone hates to use. But what if there was an inflation surge and a slowdown at the same time, and interest rates actually had to rise? That would, you know, obviously create more 2022-like conditions, which would be devastating for something like an ULTY and MSTY. Always prepare for the downside. The upside will take care of itself. Just don't say I didn't warn you if it's down market. I'm not trying to be a fear monger. Look, I use margin. I buy these funds just within reason. J Baby, do you know of any good Ethereum dividend ETFs? Thanks. J Baby, isn't there YETH, like YETH? And I'm sure there's more. And we have Bitcoin channels at our Discord if you're ever interested, Jay. Jared, great knowledge. Biggest issue for me is I'm using Robinhood with no access to some of the stocks you anchor in, like Cornerstone. Not sure what to do about percentage on margin. We'll call E-Trade and see. Yeah, and also, you know, when you have both accounts, Jared, let me know if you want to talk more. I know that, you know, many members use both brokers, and they seem to swear by it. Deborah, what is similar to Cornerstone? I'm on Robinhood. They don't have it available. Thank you. The only reason why I always preach Cornerstone, Deborah, is for the Cornerstone NAV drip, okay? So nothing is really like Cornerstone because nothing has the NAV drip like that, with the RO opportunity, with the ability to tie it to the indexes as well on up days. So I would just say, I'm not trying to be like rude or anything, because Deborah, I really appreciate your comment, but a lot of people ask that, and I would just say nothing is like Cornerstone. But if you go to the Anchors channel here in Discord, our alternative Anchors channel, you can see all about what we have there as some alternative anchors to Discord, to Cornerstone. Ron, hello, Ron. Brandon, I recently opened Robinhood account because you wanted to move some of your high yielders there because the maintenance requirements are killing me at Fidelity, keeping my CRF and CLM in Fidelity account. Yep, I understand that, Brandon. You know, use Cornerstone for the NAV drip there, and then the lower maintenance at Robinhood. Many members swear by that strategy as well. Hey, Henrik. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that gesture, Henrik. Really a pleasure, speaking with you throughout the week on our WhatsApp messages. So thank you, Henrik. Really appreciate that. Thank you, brother. John, Richard, agreed. You cannot allow greed to take over. Exactly. John, Todd, should we be adding to the triples now or use TQQY or YSPY instead? You know that I rebalance those granite shares, John. And as far as adding to the triples now, we'll talk more about that Monday, okay? Either tomorrow, Monday or Tuesday. All right, we'll assess, the market then, the state of the markets in our members' videos, John. See you there. Henrik, look at Yieldmax as an annuity investment, knowing there will be less. Should you want your money back now, I'll live off distributions until I die. My ULTY divs are not for sale. Exactly. That's right, Henrik. That's how you have to approach these. You have to approach it like that. As long as you don't put too much of your money behind it to where, again, yeah, you're going to live off that income, but that annuity will change percentages, right? They will lower those percentages in down markets. So just be aware of that, okay? But I understand exactly what you mean. I'm going by the same principles, Henrik, with ULTY, the way I use it as well. It's like a glorified CD for me. Richard, Henrik, I think the same as you, exactly. Because our dividends will cash flow us over time. We're not going to, as long as we keep getting dividends, we won't lose, right? We just keep collecting 20% dividend. In Cornerstone's case, 5 years, that's 100% payback. But, it stays steady with the indexes. Imagine something with a gaping fall. The holdings that ULTY has, some of them are quite questionable, like HIMS or something like that. And, or AI, C3 AI. And we have huge falls, and it can never recover the NAV loss, okay? Because some of those funds just fall huge. So just keep that in mind, everyone, even though they have protective puts. Gosh, where was I? Okay. Wholesaling Tony, where can I research our Cornerstone funds before I put all my money there? You wouldn't want to put all your money in Cornerstone either. You want to keep it, all spread out within reason. I keep 30% in Cornerstone, but it's still by far my largest holding, Tony. There's really no place to research it except for Seeking Alpha. That's where I learned about it. And no one was doing videos on it, so I did videos on that and margin. I don't know where else to find that kind of information. Ricardo, what are we expecting from the next Fed meeting? Will it be bullish or bearish? Oh, I would love to be able to know that question. That's like $1 million question. If I had the crystal ball, we'd be super rich. But most people are thinking a Fed rate cut, all right, is generally the consensus. Richard, bullish, hopefully. Bruce, at what level of membership do I go to get SMS texting? It depends, Bruce. Do you want the 20 a month, which is for the RO announcement, or do you want the 50 a month, which is for all of my trades, all of my notable trades between members' videos? It's up to you, Bruce. 20 for SMS, 50 for all trades, 20 for the RO announcement, 50 for all trades. Some people just, they don't want all the alerts. They just want to get my weekly videos. That's the 35 a month option. Ricardo, and again, that's like, don't get me started on the pricing. Ricardo, what are people thinking about IBIT for holding and options? Yeah, IBIT, I've used options on that to use as for insurance, for my Bitcoin plays, Ricardo. SI, all the best. Thanks, Todd. You too, SI. Thanks for being here today. Ricardo, selling leaps is good too. Absolutely. Chris, if your broker doesn't have drip at NAV for CRF-CLM, I have one for my company, self-directed brokerage, which I can't change. What are other good anchors in that case? I would say, Chris, check out our Discord for the alternative anchors. We have a channel dedicated to those anchors. Chris, great job, Todd. Keep it up. Thank you, Chris. Pudding, what's your opinion on Granite shares? I love them. Pudding. I own, quite a few. TQY, YSPY. I wish we could talk more about YieldBoost, but there just aren't that many funds. Major Sam, right? Are you trimming ULTY and MSTY and adding to the shorts, or the opposite? I would say it's the opposite, but I'm not really adding to ULTY and MSTY either. We'll talk more about that, Major Sam. I was more so just rebalancing when you saw those in the last members only videos. Already did the rebalancing, already did the buying. Chris, hey Todd, love your videos. Where do you find the rights offering dates for CRF-CLM? Well, you never know the date, that's the thing, but you just wait for the headline, at your broker, and they'll give you that headline, or you get the headline here at Discord. Advisability, Todd's worst fear is hearing someone say they're all in. Yeah, I mean, that's everyone's worst fear. And sometimes we use titles like that in videos to get a little bit more views, or to provoke, to ask, to get people's gears turning. But yeah, never want to go all in anything. The rule of thumb is, 20% is the max that you want to do. Why do I do 30% with Cornerstone? Because it is the indexes. Something that Warren Buffett believes in, that you can go all in on something that is that reliable. Jack Bogle will say the same thing. Davion, good to see you, Davion. Lisa just got in on Cornerstone. Which 100K? Yeah, well, great job, Lisa. It's about taking that plunge. Okay, so please clarify your question. I'm not sure what you mean. The Boys Gaming. I have Coney, ULTY, and MSTY. We'll drop every penny for a few years and see what happens, hoping MSTY dividend stays above $1 for at least $4,000 a month. Okay, boys. Thank you for sharing. Ricardo, just add ULTY and MSTY. Use your options premiums to accumulate shares. Just add ULTY and MSTY using your options premiums to accumulate shares. It's one way to go, Ricardo. Just watch down markets. Hey, J Red, thank you so much for the donation today, okay, the tip. All right, that's really nice of you, J Red. Y'all know that that's the gesture that, that mostly I appreciate. I know you're not trying to, give me, major amounts of money here. I mean, I'm wasting I'm not wasting, but I'm exerting my voice so much here. So I know you can hear that, J Red. I appreciate, that gesture once again. Thank you, J Red. Lisa, I have another 100K for trading. What would be the best trade? Should I have Cornerstone in my portfolio right now? Should I do only Cornerstone in my portfolio, Lisa? That's tough. First of all, I don't give advice. And second of all, I only keep 30%. But call me, Lisa, if you want to talk more about, the allocations. Obviously, you're in the members video, so just copy those top 10 to 30 allocations, as I always tell members, and then bolt on the other growth plays beneath it as you grow. Does that make sense, Lisa? Ricardo, look also at BTCI, SPY, QQI. Yeah. I mean, I'm not as, that's what we mentioned at the beginning of the video. I just have bigger fish to fry with those, but they're great funds. J-Red, E-Guide 8 sounds great. When is the book coming out, Todd? Thanks for all the experience and info. Thanks, J-Red. Yeah, one day I hope I can do a book, or the hard copy for all my guides. So thanks, J-Red. Thanks again for everything today, J-Red. Really mean that, brother. Ricardo, I'm liking Marvell to sell options at its current price level. I'm holding shares for that purpose. Yeah, I love Marvell and semiconductors, Ricardo. I'm selling puts on Soxel, as you know, and that way I'm diversified, no headline risk, and I still get huge premiums. I think much safer valuations, and without the headline risk. In the money with Eric. What's the max margin leverage you've ever used? 1 time, 2 times? I plan on staying conservative, but just curious. Great question, Eric. I've used all of it before. I used to live and die by margin calls. Like I'd be in a call by $1 or $5. I tell members this all the time. I would joke about this. Like sometimes I try to get just a Happy Meal for TJ in the drive-through, and then I would wait for the after-hours balance to just be up. $6 out of a margin call. Boom, they take me out of a margin call, and then I can buy that burger again. It's just, so I've really ridden that fine line, and I was okay with doing that because I love doing this stuff, and I could always sell at any time to satisfy the margin call if I wanted to, but I knew we were bouncing. It was right around the V bottom time of Corona, and so I just held on, and you saw my account go back from 15,000 all the way back up to 100,000. In a short period of time, thanks to holding on with full margin with UPRO and the triple C's. Okay, and there's a lot of triples I use, once again, all in volume 7. Great question, Eric. SR, Todd, could you do a bundle for 5, 6, and 7? I bought the first 4 as a bundle when there was only those 4. Yeah, SR, of course. Like, I always, you can always upgrade at any time, no extra cost. So I've been doing that for members. Absolutely, SR. Just email me, let me know. Where was I? Okay, Bruce, thank you on the membership info. Exactly, Bruce. No problem. Appreciate you asking. Appreciate you listening, Bruce. Yogi, on Schwab, they do have CRF and CLM. What kind of split do you recommend? I always like 50-50, Yogi, just to lower your maintenance, keep your exposure down, your concentration risk down. Okay, and that lowers your maintenance. Andre, The Fund of Funds by Roundhill called WPay should be out soon. Yeah, very excited about that, Andre. You know, that could be something. You know, we'll see, you know, what the maintenance is on that, Andre. Hey, Wayne. Great to see you, Wayne. Hope all's well, brother. Text me. Yeah, it's been a while. Rada, which meme coins to invest in now? Oh, I wish I knew. I don't really focus on that too much. Victor, Todd, love your videos. Await your invoice for volume 7. Okay, Victor, yeah, just email me one more time to remind me, Victor, if you don't mind. Davion, great to see you. Came a long way. Proud of you. Keep up the good work. Thanks, Davion. I appreciate you too. All right. Thanks, brother. Yeah, we're going to keep going, okay? We just have to make sure that we're safe, you know, during periods of heightened volatility, okay? The upside will take care of itself. Ricardo, Sox was a great play too. I used to sell options on that one. Right, Ricardo. That's my money maker right there. I just closed some of those options for really massive gains, honestly, recently. My members saw that. Richard, I try to keep 70% equity, 30% margin. Yep, I do the similar thing there, Richard. But it's all about your maintenance too, you know. Bruce, and your holdings. So just make sure you're staying indexed as well. That's, 30% is kind of a lot if you're not indexed. Bruce, I call Fidelity, and they stated that if you buy CLM, you're automatically getting the corporate drip. They couldn't differentiate from the corporate sponsor drip and the other one. Yeah, Bruce, now the things have changed, and so you can just toggle it, and now you get it. You don't have to call like you had to do before, like in 2021. SR, the drip is automatic, so who wouldn't want to be in that as an anchor? SR, thanks, Todd. Transferring out of Fidelity this week, so we'll lose access to CLM and NAV drip. But the alternative anchors at Discord helps a lot. Oh, great, SR. I'm glad you're liking those alternative anchors. Excellent. Silverliner, do you think that we could wait a week to buy Salty? It's hard. You never know the timing, Silverliner, but I just watch price action. And, as we get closer to the highs, I'll definitely rebalance Salty, if that makes sense, Silverliner. Yogi, can someone help me with margin on Robinhood? I never seem to be able to use it. How do you actually use it? Call me sometime, Yogi, or ask our Discord chat room. Okay, there's a lot of people who use it there. Major, thanks, Todd. We'll watch later and get the summary. Okay, Major, yeah. There's just a lot said. And yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, okay? And call me if you need anything, Major. All right, salute to you, sir. Yeah, so once again, email me for my e-guides at akintodd48@gmail.com if you need help living financially free out of your brokerage account using Yieldmax, Cornerstone, and margin. We're up 23% for the year. The S&P is only up 8%. All right, you also get my e-guides. You get my number with e-guides, and you get Discord access with my e-guides. You can head to my website, unconventionalwealthideas.com, if you want more information about what we're doing here. All right, so I hope you liked this video. Once again, if you liked it, please click like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon, everyone. Thanks.